Welcome back to another episode of Chocolate Conversations Podcast, where we have real conversations that speak directly to you. I'm your host, Keon Taylor, aka Key, alongside my co-host, the inspirational Dr. V. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I can't call it like a bad referee. And then we got my man over here, Chocolate Boy Wonder, he himself, Hafiq Stokes.
What's happening?
What's going on, man? How are you?
Good. Since you say you can't call like a bad way, I'm official like a whistle.
I like that.
It is.
Now, we do have a special guest today.
Yes, sir.
Me and this man go way back to doing stage plays together. Club Hallelujah. You know, he actually pretty much got me started in film. He actually put me in the game. I consider him a brother, a friend, a mentor. This man's a father. He's a director. He's a writer. What can't he do? Gifted brother, man of God. He's definitely been one of the most important people in my life, you know, and I just want to give him his flowers early. So I had to get him on the show today. I introduced to you guys, he himself, Fred Forte Jr. What's going on, brother?
What's
happening?
What's good, y'all?
Yeah.
I appreciate y'all bringing me on, man. I've been checking out what y'all doing, and I'm excited to be here for sure.
Well, you know, Chocolate Conversations Podcast, man, you family. Be yourself.
Yeah.
Talk your whatever you want to do. You know, we're going to have fun in here today. But before we get started, man, y'all make sure y'all like this video, subscribe this video, share this video. Let's get into this.
Yeah, man.
So, man, we got a good topic today about being a Christian man or woman today in the dating market. Mm-hmm. So basically Christian dating in a modern world society. Is it hard to follow God and still date in modern society? And that's tough because I know for me, I struggle with that. I am a believer. I do believe in God, but sometimes we test it. We get tempted sometimes, you know, and sometimes it's times where I've drifted off and I try to do it the world's way instead of doing it God's way, you know? So it's definitely can be a challenge. So when it comes to Christian dating, and anybody can intervene in this, what does that look like in 2025? Being a Christian man or Christian woman and dating in 2025. And we know how this dating deregulated.
Being
marketings, man, what was going on?
Funny. Being able to praise God, have a Glock, be able to go. I'm just joking.
But you about to need all that.
It's definitely probably challenging now in today's dating climate if you want to have that Christian mindset and date, because there's so many different distractions and people have so much access to things than normal before, and it can overinflate your reality of your options and make you have your standards different, and that can conflict with the Word of God and what your standards are. Man,
that's good stuff. What you think, Fred?
Well, I got a question.
Okay.
You know, myself, when you talked about God's way versus the world's way, you know, I guess my question would be, what is God's way? I mean, when we think about dating God's way, so I can be able to expound and be able to, you know, contribute to the conversation accurately. I just want to hear from y'all, you know, as being followers of God, what does it mean to date God's way?
That's a good question, man. I'm gonna put it like this. For me, when I look at God's ways from a man's standpoint, I look at the Proverbs 31 woman.
All right.
And I'm gonna read that because I aspire, you know, it says Proverbs 31 woman is a biblical archetype, a woman of virtue, wisdom, and strength, described as a model of a godly woman known for her diligence, generosity, ability to manage her household and her community. All of that. You know what I mean? She has strength, she has dignity, her devotion to God, her devotion to her family, all of that. And I think just being intentional, you know, when I say doing it God's way, just being intentional when you date. You know, I know sometimes, and I know I've been guilty of this, you know, we date just to see what's out here and what we can get out here. I know I've been a part of that culture. So just being more intentional in what you're doing and having that goal to build with somebody, and create, and just, you know, so when I say God's way, you know, being more intentional in the dating process, you know, and building a legacy together. What about you, V?
Well, that's a great question, because I guess it may mean different things, that question to different people.
That's why I wanted to more or less. No.
So for me, and I don't know, for a lot of people I talk to, God's way is what it says in the Bible. That's the standard. That's the word. What it says in the New Testament. 1 Corinthians 13 about how it says how to love, right?
True story.
Galatians, when it talks about the fruit of the Spirit. If you're talking about a Christian, and because let's be real, a lot of people use that title a lot, especially these days. So I always go back to fruit of the Spirit. And that's in Galatians, and it breaks it down, right? 1 Thessalonians talks about how you should refrain from sex before marriage, different things of that things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Renewing your mind every day, Romans 8, not being in the flesh. So so that's what I think about, is doing it God's way. We have to go back to the Bible. Even if I know it's hard, it's challenging.
For sure.
But when you talk about, he put it in the word, that's the standard, and it's infallible. And so that's his standard. That's what we should point to. We know that doesn't always happen. Like you said, we all fall, we're going to stumble and everything, but that's the only way, is by going the biblical way.
Yeah.
Let's take the religion and tradition out of it, because I'm not talking about tradition. I'm talking about the word of God. And talking about intimacy, and it's organic, right? That's spirituality and things of that. It within Christianity, right? It's not getting caught up on the rituals and tradition, because that's a difference. A lot of people get caught up on, they can do the rituals and, I'm gonna go to church every day, I'm gonna do this, do these things, but they have no intimacy with God, or they never receive Jesus in their heart to have, or they don't know how to renew their mind daily, or not walking in the Spirit. So when you say God's way, and as far as dating or doing anything, I'm always gonna point back to the Bible.
For sure. What about you, Afiz?
She said a mouthful right there. You know, I know myself. Just being a man, working and grinding. I know I struggle. I'm definitely not perfect at all. You know, that's why I always just say my prayers and just be grateful. I'm probably a little bit more spiritual than anything. So I just try to make the most of what I can in my situation. Always, putting my best foot forward, and even as I gotten older, I do, like you said, Keon, try to be even more intentional. Yeah. Because as you get old, you don't want your time wasted, and you don't want to bring any toxic energy or things that in your plight that you've created for yourself. Yeah. So
Well, I mean, so to kind of just, as I said, contribute to that particular topic. Yeah, I think trying to be intentional, right? More or less have a relationship, as we talk about, get away from titles and get away from tradition and have a relationship with God. You can find yourself struggling at times to be able to find that kind of connection, right? Yeah, man. And I think the biggest battle you fight is not so much, at least in my opinion, I think the hardest battle is not so much what we do when we're trying to date other people. It's that battle within, just between the flesh and what you know is right to do. But being intentional, having a goal, having a true desire, and that being God's desire, I think it's hard, but it's necessary if you really want to obtain something substantial. So that's my opinion on that. For sure.
Good stuff, brother. So what would y'all say is some struggles when it comes to dating as a Christian man or woman? Because when you look at social media, sex is everywhere. It's in the music. It's in social media, the way people dress, the style. You may see a nice looking woman, body's tight. What are some of the struggles dating as Christian people, man, in the dating world, that you guys can share? I know for me, I'll be lying to you. I'll be lying to you if I ain't see a woman I wouldn't, I wouldn't tell. Even though God knows my heart, everybody always say that, God knows my heart, God forgives. But I know for me, I struggle with that sometimes, when it comes to the flesh, and you be like, man, I would, but my heart is in the right place, but sometimes it's just hard to resist that as a Christian man. But I always try to, go ahead.
I mean, I think when you're talking about doing God's way, right? I think it's always going to come down to, well, what's the biggest obstacle and hurdle as people? And it's always going to be dealing with the flesh. It's always going to be dealing with that. So, I mean, I think just trying to maintain that lifestyle, because that's what it really is. This relationship and walk with God is a lifestyle. And so trying to maintain that lifestyle while trying to, do what's necessary, because I think dating is necessary in order for you to be able to find your mate. It's a necessity. But I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. But trying to stay grounded, stay focused. That's the biggest thing.
And then sometimes we want to do what we want to do when we want to do it. I mean, sometimes it's just having that will. In this moment, I want to do what I want to do.
That's big will.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's big. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. Digging deep.
Yeah. And what's crazy? I always wonder, like, man, because I've met some, Christians. We're normal people like everybody else, but I think there's some misconceptions about Christianity and people following their faith. Because people think, man, if I'm a Christian, if I fully devote my life to God, it's boring. They don't like to have no fun. And we just in church all day singing hymns, and I gotta wait on a Christian man and Christian woman. It's crazy. But I just feel like, what do you guys feel like is the misconceptions of being a Christian? Because a lot of people, they have they think we're boring, we don't like to have fun. Like, what are some misconceptions you would say is when it comes to like being a Christian or a Christian woman dating today?
You kind of hit on the head, kid. I mean, rules, man. There's, people feel like there's a lot of rules that you're gonna have to adhere to and kind of follow. When in all actuality, man, that's what, I don't know. To me, that's where the best life can be found, is when you are intentional, you're truthful. Because like I said, going back to what does that mean? I think it balance, harmony, reciprocity, love, peace. Who wouldn't want these things? And I think when they're presented in the right way, Christians sometimes can come off very very holy roly sometimes.
Man, the holy rollers.
And I think that's
another.
It's funny you mention that, because I overheard a woman say that, saying that she said she's a Christian woman and a man has to be a man of God, but she doesn't like the holy rollers. Was like, okay, did you pray today? Did you do this today? It's just so they so into it turns people off. It's just that sometimes when Christians can be so into it, they lose themselves.
That's what I was about to say.
So then it turns the person off from God a little bit, because they don't come off as authentic or as relatable. I know I had situations where I'm dating a woman that's into it, but it just came off kind of like I don't know if I don't want no part of this. I mean, I get it, but I mean, there's levels to it. So I got a question for you guys. So, could you guys date or develop something with someone that's not as strong in your faith as you? Or would you say they have to really take their faith seriously, like you take your faith seriously? What did you guys' standpoint on that?
I'll go last, because I've spoken on this a lot. So,
I mean, I guess we'll cross boundaries as long as she ain't too far over, because I know I'm not perfect. You know what I'm saying? So why miss out on a potential person that could be good for me because she's not super deep into it? Maybe there's ways we can talk, we can find common ground and convert each other into something. So I would say, I would be open. I mean, I would just find the levels. If if she is too far astray, then that could be something that maybe I could, part my ways with. So.
Okay. I overheard my sister say the other day, if a man is not strong in his faith, how is he supposed to lead me if his faith is not strong within God, then how can I trust him enough to lead me? And sometimes we don't look at it like that. I look at, because you look at God and having a relationship with him, you think, I have my own relationship, you have your own relationship, and we come together. But I thought that was very interesting for her to say that.
I think it just comes down to, for me, desire. Do you have a desire to want to go deeper? Because see, somebody like myself, I grew up in the church. My father's a pastor.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I've been in the church my whole entire life.
Okay.
There's a lot more about this or God that I may know more than maybe the average person may know. So for me to come into it and say your spirituality, your knowledge of the Bible, your knowledge of God, your knowledge of this has to be where mine is or near mine, I think that would be unfair. So I think a lot of times it has to just come down to, do you have a desire to want to know? Do you have a desire to want to grow closer to God? Is that something you want to do? Because if there's desire, then it can be development. That's at least in my opinion. You know what I mean?
It's funny how it's so different for men than women, because you got a lot of men say that it's easier for you guys to say, like, you don't have to be close or whatever the case may be. But to your point, when a lot of women, we're looking at it as far as leading and it's spiritual maturity, I would say that's one misconception people have, is the whole perfect. Nobody's perfect.
That's the truth.
Only Jesus was perfect, right? So, but if somebody is more spiritually mature or whatever, and they're evolving as far as in their walk or whatever, that doesn't mean they think anything less than somebody. It's just where everybody's journey is different.
Yeah.
Everybody's path is different. Yeah. But it's okay for that woman or person to desire somebody that is equally yoked. And I love how my pastor had broke it down last year when he was talking. It was a singles conference, and he was like, we say you want to be equally yoked, thinking that just means within the same religion. But equally yoked, when you talk about the ox, it means they're the same size, they're the same attributes, because they're able to carry the ox, right? That's where they're coming from, an ox that carries the big thing, right? And so if you have somebody who is maybe more mature in their walk in different things, meaning they're fasting, they're praying, they're tithing, they're doing things where they always seek God when it comes to decisions, and you have somebody who maybe just got saved, and even though they're on fire for God, they're just got saved, right? So, and so they're taking steps to mature, because like you said, it's a lifestyle, and it comes with growth and experiences. And God has to really refine you, and you go through this sanctification process. So all of that comes with time. So there is going to be a difference if somebody, differently. You might not understand, okay, you should tithe, right? Or if that's what you believe. Or you might not understand, like, if the person doesn't want to have sex until marriage, and you're like, no, but we're human. I've heard men say that all the time. Or we should live together. Oh, but we're human. We could do it, but you're not really understanding what this is, what the standard is. Because what I've experienced, and what I'm noticing, and what some other pastors have said, the closer we get to God, your standards and things are going to change. They're going to be tightened up. They're going to tighten up, where your pool is going to be smaller. Because when you continue to get closer to God, and he's transforming you in your heart, you're going to want certain things, and you're going to see things like you're going to see yourself, how God views us. You're going to understand why there are certain things. Is to protect us. Is not to say we can't have fun, because setting yourself apart and living for God is amazing. Yeah, there's nothing boring about it. It's so much.
And I'm glad you're speaking on that, because a lot of people have a perception. I'm in church all day. These church people are stuck up, or they're only stuck in the world, but they don't like to have fun. So it's good that you said that there's enjoyment in that as well.
Yeah, and it's not about being stuck in the church all day, because again, there's a lot of people who are in the church all day serving, and they don't know God. So that's
misconception.
That's the misconception, that everybody in the church is a believer. No, that's not the case. I love how Randy said it before. The gate is narrow for a reason. If it was easy, everybody would be able to do it. And so that's why it's very hard to date in this modern world as a Christian, because you're setting yourself apart. You're being different. You're going against the grain. You're going against what society thinks is cool. People, that's why some people are scared to even admit that they're saving themselves for marriage. Or I know, because I personally knew some virgins, but they wouldn't tell people because they didn't want to be made fun of. More female than male. I have never met a male virgin, but at the same time, I'm sure there are male virgins. But can you imagine y'all laughing now? They don't want to say that.
No, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. You don't hear that. You don't hear that. That's a fact.
So at the same time, when people who are striving to be real about this lifestyle and live holy and live for God, they get made fun of too. They get looked at, oh, you think you're better. No, this is where my heart is. because everything flows from our heart. What we do is from our heart. So our actions, everything, and renewing. I always I'll come back to renewing our mind daily, killing the flesh daily. Yes, everything is hard because we're always in our flesh. Yeah. But when you're in the spirit, it becomes easier. It becomes really easier.
Yeah, that's what it has to be a lifestyle.
Yeah, sure. A lifestyle.
But you touched on something that I wanted to ask you about, Keith, if it's okay.
Yeah.
You said about women being a man of God in order to lead. Do you feel like a man can only be a good leader or be able to lead a woman properly if he is a man of God?
No, I won't say that.
Okay. All right.
I won't say that.
Okay.
Because leadership, means different things.
Okay.
But I will say my doctorate is in management and organizational leadership.
Okay.
So I know all about leadership.
Okay.
But no, I won't say that. But I love what Keon's saying. That's why it's so different for women when we say we want somebody who's maybe more advanced in their faith or around the same level, because we're supposed to submit to you and you submit to God.
Absolutely.
So it's the hierarchy, right? And what I love is also about him being a covering and understanding that responsibility.
Yeah.
Because when they were in the garden, and even though Eve, she sinned, when they were I don't know if you guys noticed this, but God, he called Adam, where are you? He called for Adam. He didn't call Eve because Adam is seen as the covering of the household. And that's deep. When I realized that, I was like, yo, he didn't even say, Eve, why did you eat the apple? He called Adam because he's supposed to be over her. And so I think more men should understand that. And I've said it multiple times on this platform about when y'all say intentional, be intentional about working on what does it take to be a leader? What does that look like to you? What using your gifts and your abilities? And because leadership can look like anything, right? But if we look at Christ as a servant leader, and you would have to be a servant leader when you're leading your family, right? You're leaving because it's selfless, right? So thinking of that nature, I would encourage men to do that, because a lot of men say they're ready, or a lot of women might say they're ready for marriage, but you don't have the character to sustain marriage, and that's a whole different level when you're talking about a sustaining marriage. What are we doing to work on our character to sustain it? That's why I'm constantly talking about healing. I'm constantly talking about certain things I look for about, I like certain things. I would love if the guy's tall, but that's not no deal breaker, because I care about his heart. I care about how he's going to treat me. I care about his integrity. I care about how he treats people when nobody's looking. Things of that nature. That's character that's going to sustain our marriage. And a lot of men, y'all work on the superficial things, like, what you say, y'all have to compete, but y'all working on the money, y'all working on the outfits, y'all working on the cars, all that tangible stuff. But sometimes y'all overlook working on the character stuff and sustaining the marriage. And so we don't lead to divorce.
And it's interesting you mentioned that. And the reason why a lot of us, man, we focus on the money and we focus on a lot of the other stuff, because it's the ways of the world. And when you look at a lot of the women, if he's not at least 6 foot tall, if he ain't making this amount of money, if he ain't doing this,
that's the new standard.
It's a pressure, man. It's a pressure on us to divide. It's a pressure on us to provide. It's a pressure on us to be leaders. It's a pressure that they want us to look good, do all of this. So it's a lot of pressure, man.
And to add to your point, because women are now competing for the same jobs that we're doing. The women have become boss chicks. So and now if she's here, then her standards naturally going to be here. So guys are just saying, I gotta try to get here, So
I want him on my level. If I'm here, I want him here.
Yeah, which I understand, because a lot of women, they do care about that. But I'm just saying, don't lose sight of doing the character work.
So let me ask you this though: do you feel like it's harder for a Christian woman to find a suitable mate versus a Christian man? Because you always hear women say, I want me a good looking Christian man. That's what I want in church. But then I hear women say, you know what? I said, why not just get a man from the church? And I hear women say, in the church, they don't always have the options.
There's more women in the church.
There's more women in the church than men, because it ain't what it used to be. You remember, a lot of men are not in the church as they used to be in the 90s. And why do you guys think that is? You, Fred Forte, a lot of men are not in the church as they used to be. So then a lot of women say, hey, I don't find out too many eligible men in the church.
So can I say
go ahead.
Quick, because my church, sometimes it's the leader. who the shepherd is, the pastor. Mm. Because when you have a certain leader, male, he's going to attract a lot of males. I'm a part of a dope church where there's a lot of men in the church that serve. They're younger. They're like on fire for God because of our pastor. And he just attracts that. Even my brother, that's the thing we do. We go to church together, and he was just like, yo, pastor don't miss. We call him John Wick because he's always cooking. He don't miss. And he was out of the church for a while, right? And so, but he was drawn to him because of who he is, and he sees him as a spiritual father. So I noticed that helps with who are the leaders at the church, because they're going to attract men. But yes, you're right. Statistically wise, there's way more women in the church.
I think she hit it on the head. I think comes down to who is the shepherd, who is the leader of the church, who's the pastor. And then I think a lot of times too, churches are just not really ministering to men as much as they do to women. Because there are more women, you know. So
so the sermon's going to fit. I get what you're saying.
The sermon's going to be more catered to my audience.
I was going to say that.
You know what I mean? So if I'm a man and I come and
it ain't hitting
me, so I'll go, baby, you go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that the messaging has kind of shifted a little bit. I mean, you look at some of the pastors, the male pastors who have super huge congregations. They tailor their messaging now to a woman tithing audience in a lot of cases. So I mean.
Yeah, so I think both aspects play in it. You got a good pastor, you can go out there and see a good diversity of men and women. You're going to be able to see that. Yeah. But then, like I said, then you have the other case where it's just, man, this ain't hitting for me. This ain't talking to me. This talking to my wife. This talking to my mama, you know. So, yeah, I don't see no need for me to come. I'm not being ministered to.
And y'all don't see him as relatable either.
Absolutely.
Or
right.
One or two things he's at a place where y'all think that y'all can't achieve.
Come on.
Because he's acting like, you know, he's not flawed, or to your point, the messaging, and it's not relatable, and certain things that he is preaching. But I love when certain people preach about, so like Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell, he's been blowing up. He's from Queens, New York. He's a dope pastor, but because how he preaches on sin and different things, it translates to men and women.
Yeah.
It's not gender biased.
Yeah.
And so I noticed that you look at his congregation, he has a lot of men with him, right? You're right. That is true. It depends on what their premise is, what they're preaching on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I got to be touched too. Because men and women, though, as humans, we all go through some of the same things. Yeah. But there are some things that just, a woman, she's not going to be able to understand that I'm going through as a man. There's some things I'm not going to be able to understand she's going through. Yeah. So I have to be able to get something every once in a while. You ain't got to tailor make your whole message.
Right.
But give me drop some nuggets in there for me, man.
Right, right.
Talk to me. Yeah, man.
So let me ask y'all this question. When it comes to physical standards, I'm gonna ask this because, you know what, a lot of people think, like you were saying, we get caught up on the superficial, but sometimes, like I heard this Christian woman say, you know, man, I want a guy like Future, but a Christian man.
Looks like him.
Looks like a Future, like a reformed thug or reformed, but as a Christian man. I was like, wait a minute.
That meme. Go ahead. I told you about that meme. I remember that meme. It was just like, it was delusion of some mug. It's like, you want a guy, he's go to church, he can have a picnic, but he knows how to carry a gun, and I was it's crazy. Right?
And based on physical standards and in society, do y'all feel like sometimes as Christians we pass up on good people because they don't meet a certain requirement or a certain look standard that we want or we expect?
I mean, that's everybody. Yeah. I don't think it's just Christian people.
That's across the board. That's across the board.
So if God placed the perfect woman in front of you right now, I'm talking about she has all the intangibles. Maybe she ain't the best looking. She's not a looker. But women of God, pray for you. You guys have great chemistry, all of that.
But he is attracted to her. Because y'all have to be attracted. Y'all are visual. Yeah. So he's attractive, but she might not be a 10 or whatever.
Nah, she may be a 6. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Is strong
and 6?
I think most guys will be fine with a 6 that they can work with. Yeah. But at the end of the day, they still got to find her attractive.
That's what I said. You got to be attracted to her. That's men and women. We got to be attracted.
Yeah.
Because sometimes somebody will grow on you, like their personality.
Yeah.
And especially for men, if y'all are funny, it's like, you've seen a face only a mom could love. They pulling women because they funny.
Yeah.
Or they got some style with them.
A
Or
little swag or something.
confidence.
Yeah,
Confidence
and
for y'all is king. Like,
And it don't hurt if he got a bag too.
yeah. That don't hurt
It don't hurt if he got a
That
bag
don't
too.
hurt either.
He got a bag
But
too.
yeah.
So what? So I know you're a father. I know you're a great father.
Yeah.
So when you dating out here in the world, you being a father, does that make dating harder? You know, being a parent and being a Christian man and all that.
Sure. There's gonna be people. I have 4 kids, so for me, being able to say I have 4 kids, it's always gonna be a thing where it raises eyebrows, which that's okay to me.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
I don't. To me, stuff like that, I don't get caught up on it, man, because I'm like, you either accept it or not, because for me, my babies are my everything, as you say. They my everything. So, but yeah, absolutely. There have been people say, it's got a little too much going on for me. And that's all right. That's all right. But yeah, for sure. Being a father, a single father out here, it's not easy. But at the end of the day, it's part of the journey. You know what I mean? That's a part of it. It comes with it. So I understood that going into it. I think the biggest thing is, meeting women who still want to have kids. You know what I'm saying? Who are not done having kids and want more. I'm done. You know what I mean? So I'm, like I said, I'm a grandfather.
And you put that up front?
Straight up. Yeah, I don't mess around. Yeah.
It goes back to the intention.
Right. And I think that's why I say, me personally, I don't think it's hard to be a man of God, a woman of God and date. I think whether a woman is a Christian or not, I think she's going to appreciate the characteristics, the fruits of the Spirit. Who wouldn't want a man that's honest, up front?
Yeah.
Knows who he is.
Slow to anger.
Jesus says, what's the greatest commandment? Love your neighbor what? As yourself.
Yeah.
So a man that loves himself, confident, I think anybody's going to appeal to that. And if anything, you may find intimidation to say, oh man, maybe I don't feel like I can meet that. But somebody saying, that's a turn off?
Right.
Why?
Right.
And if so, that ain't the kind of woman you want anyway. That's a fact.
I do believe that. I feel like there is somebody out here for everybody.
Absolutely.
But then you do hear women complain about there's a shortage of men,
Because there is. With one woman.
There is.
We know that. We talk about it all the time.
Statistically, yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's a stat.
So I don't think we're complaining. We're just stating facts.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
That's why I be open dating outside your race, ladies.
Ooh, you really go?
Sorry. It is what it is.
I understand.
But do you feel like? But do you guys feel like with dating? Do you feel like sometimes we can be impatient with God when it comes to dating? Because because a woman may say, I'm only dating men who are strong in their faith or believers. But let me open my window up to non-believers just so I can have more options, and that'll better my chances of finding the person I'm supposed to be with or want to be with. So do you feel like we can be sometimes too impatient with the dating process because we want what we want when we want it, but we don't want to do it on God's time?
What would cause some impatience? Like loneliness?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe if a man or woman, they got to a certain point in life, maybe they haven't found that one, maybe they haven't had kids yet, and they still trying to find the right one. I mean, that could make them questioning, like, Lord, why haven't I found the right one, or why? So I mean, just situations like that, life-changing events that they haven't came across yet.
And that's when we start steamrolling into settling and just accepting things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that loneliness is a killer, man.
Loneliness, or people not you don't love yourself, like you're like you don't like being alone, or people are used to being in relationships.
Oh yeah.
Man,
like that. They might not even be lonely, but they're just used to being in relationships.
With somebody,
with somebody. Because you're gonna go through different seasons of life. If you're looking at social media,
man,
it's like I tell people I'm not an emotional cutter. I'm not. If I'm feeling, I go through phases. If I'm feeling a certain way of not being married yet or a mother yet, I won't be on Instagram scrolling. That's being an emotional cutter. I won't do that. That's why it's important for your sanity to take time away from social media, because you're busy looking at everybody else's life or whatever, and it looks it looks ain't what it seems. We know that, right?
Yep.
So not doing certain things like that. But to your point, wanting it, it's like a sense of desperation or feeling like you're going to make it happen. We saw that with Sarah. She didn't wait until have the baby. She forced Abraham to have a baby with Hagar. So, and then she resented him for doing it with Ishmael, having Ishmael. So we as people in general, to your point, we're in our flesh and we want things when we want them. And we have to understand God doesn't see time. There's no time. So but it's perfect, his perfect timing. And that requires a lot of faith because it's not easy. I'm in a Facebook, single Christian women or whatever, in a Facebook group. And there's a lot of women on there that talk about how they've been celibate for maybe 10 years still waiting or this and that. But then they're transparent and they'll say, my desperation, I got with this dude. He I thought he was the one. He said he would wait. We had sex and then all hell breaks loose. But I love it because then they learn from me because they put their transparency, like they were feeling the loneliness or the pressures of family that or society to be a mother, to be a wife, or thinking their life is incomplete, not being those certain things. And when they fall or stumble, or doing it their way, then they put it out there but they regret it and they're trying to get back on doing it, God's way. And so I think it's dope to have different support groups like that or communities where people you can talk to and be honest and iron sharpens iron, right? What do you do when if you're trying to be celibate to marriage? You need to talk to dudes who maybe already doing that. You can't be around men who are like, nah, they don't want to do that, and they're every woman they see they effing and doing all that. That's gonna rub off of you, right? So it's like it's about being around like-minded people will help as well. And people that's going to pour into you, encourage you, and have an accountability partner of, no, don't do that. Just wait, because we're all going to have our feelings and you get into your feelings, but you can't stay there, right? You can't stay in your pity party.
Nah, and this is why knowledge of self is so important as well, because you got to know your triggers.
Yeah.
Man.
You know yourself.
You hit it on the head.
Yeah, you
know your triggers.
You have to know your...
Man, and I had to sit myself down. I had to really sit myself down and do an examination of myself and say, you know what? I got to know what triggers me. What are some things I'm weak about? Because my pastor used to always say, when you're trying to stay away from chocolate cake, the devil ain't going to offer you no banana pudding.
Right.
He gonna give you the best looking cake. It's gonna be sweet. It's gonna be good.
Everything
and sometimes
you
you can't anything you want.
Yep. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, man. Be honest with yourself, man. Be honest with yourself and know yourself. And like you said, get off social media. We've kept social media's been thrown out a lot on a lot of these topics.
Yeah.
And we see that is a crux, man. That is something that is causing a lot of people to slip and fall. Yeah. Whether through comparison.
Yeah.
I'm looking at him and what he got and what she got. That's killing your joy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And seeing couples get... So sometimes go touch earth, put that phone down.
Yep.
Go surround yourself with good brothers and good sisters who can give you that encouragement. Yeah. And like you said, if you know, hey, one drink, I'm good on a date. But if I have two, I start thinking some crazy thoughts.
Right.
Know your
some crazy thoughts.
And hear that Summer Walker, you ready to drop it down?
I just heard this track, but bust it over. I said, oh, man.
Now I'm triggered. Now
I'm looking at my bracelet. I'm looking at my bracelet. I'm like, I'm sorry, B. Look. Just one time, B. I'm sorry, B.
Took it off in the shower. Then put it back on.
Took it off.
Real talk.
Then I put it back on.
You do put it back on. That's important. When we fall, we got to get back up, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Man, that's good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Sure.
So I got another question for you guys. So, I know a lot of people, I know being a Christian and dating, a lot of people want to be married and stuff like that. For you guys, as individuals, is marriage still a goal? Like, is marriage still an end goal for you guys as far as like Christian dating and getting there? Is that still the goal? I'm gonna start with you.
Yeah, it's the end goal. I mean, I can't say it's for everybody, but we all growing up have a little fairy tale to find our perfect woman or man and ride off to the sunset. Now, as we get older, some of those thoughts might change a little bit. Like, wait, man. But I think in totality, at the end of the day, most people will will still see marriage as the end goal. I know it's not always visible in most households. I mean, that could be the hindrance, but I think for the most part, in totality, most people would still like to be married at the end goal.
True.
I'm seeing people get married twice or 3 times, and and I'm looking at it like, man, I'm a one and done. I only want to do it one time, but I respect people who say, you know what, I'm gonna give it another go. You know what I mean? Even though it didn't work out this time, maybe I didn't choose wisely, maybe I didn't vet properly. You know what I mean?
That could say a lot about them for somebody want to marry them twice, but and they got there once or twice, while some people still struggling to get there the first time. So,
What about you, Mr. Forte?
Yeah, and I agree. I think, like I said, everybody's different. I've talked to many people who say they don't never want to get married. You know what I mean? They just want a life partner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So to each his own. But I think for the most part, people will say, I want my forever. Yeah. I want my storybook ending, when it comes to that. But, I would agree with Hafiz, for sure.
Yep.
V?
Same thing. Yeah, you think most people, I mean, they say the younger generation, they're moving more away from marriage. They're loving their singleness. And so things of that nature, and their happiness and their peace. But yeah, for most people, they probably most likely do want to be married. And if you've had those examples where you have parents that are still married, or grandparents who didn't pass away until they're like 80s and 90s and both are still married, and all your aunts and uncles and people in your family are married, when you say struggling to do it once, it's about how you view marriage, and you take it serious. And to your point, you want to do it one and done. You put more stock in it. You understand it's a commitment before God. So I could have been married before or engaged or whatever, but it's like I'm looking at it as different. It's serious for me. Like my brother, my sister who's married, we was like, it's serious. We're not just doing it. Or I didn't want to get married when I was young because I knew I didn't trust myself when I was young. You know what I'm saying? As far as trying to pick the right mate or the guys I would date. No, I didn't want to get married when I was young. Everybody's path is different. Sometimes that works for people, and then sometimes you see people get married young, and then by the time they hit their 40s, they're divorced because they grew apart. To your point, you always say that people grow apart, and sometimes like that. Or, so I know for me, definitely desire to be married, but I don't make it an idol, and it's not the promised land. It's not all about that. It's real for me. It's something that I desire, but it's not an idol. It used to be when I was younger. I used to make marriage an idol, and a lot of women do because of society pressures. Right? I was in my 30s, finishing my doctoral program. The youngest person, 33, when I graduated in my program. I was after that. It was like everybody was like, "Okay, what's next? Okay, now you can." The kids married, and I'm like, no, I'm not ready. I'm still my career, things of that nature, or whatever. And so women, we have a lot more pressure on us to be married, to be a mom, or the women who say they don't even want children or whatever. There's a lot of pressure on that,
That's true.
And so I would say, yes, a lot of people want to, but that's how it can become easy for women, us to make it an idol. And that's all we want. And so we're doing things as far as the desperation, or we're fixated on the ring, or we want this big lavish wedding, but we're not focusing on the marriage.
Or being a wife.
Or being a wife, or exhibiting those, like you said, Proverbs 31 characteristics.
Proverbs 31 woman.
And stuff like that, and understanding that what submission means, or understanding how to pick a right mate. You shouldn't just marry anybody. So, you know what I'm saying? Because that's an important decision. That's one of the most important decisions we're going to make in our life. I don't know if we realize it. But if you view marriage with a lot of stock and value, you're not going to jump into it. And so I respect people is that, because you're really being intentional and you're thinking about it.
Yeah, the family dynamic has changed a lot over the decades.
Man, it has.
It's just the idea of what a family looks like.
Yeah.
From the 50s to the 60s, 70s, 80s to 90s to today.
Yeah.
And that's why I think a lot of people are getting getting further away from marriage.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't grow up in this when my granddaddy was in the house, my grandmama and mama and dad.
And you had more collaboration back then too. You know, you had your parents, you could go to grandma's house, you had your neighbors
Big
looking out for you.
mama.
Even before your parents came home, your neighbors looked out for you and everything. Now I don't even know my neighbors.
That's changed a lot, man. It changed a lot. And I think it's got a lot to do with the society's perspective now on relationships and marriage. You know?
the individualized.
Correct.
Yeah, everybody's for themselves. Yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, social media has killed us, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes it makes me, sometimes I always fantasize. Y'all may think I'm weird for saying this. I always fantasize, man, if we were grown and we could take a trip back to the 80s or 90s, we can go back before social media era. Just living that.
It was different, man.
At that time,
Totally
when you could just,
different.
I'm talking about when you didn't have no dating apps, you could just you had to walk up to a woman. You had to talk to her.
Yeah. Your dating pool was your everyday walk of life.
Yeah.
And marriage rates were higher.
Yeah.
Especially in the black community, we less than 30% married now. And there was a point where it was much higher than that. You know, Dave & Briders is going out of business now because of marriage rates.
Yeah, the marriage rates, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, this is where the society is going, man. So it's no surprise that dating would be so
And
hard.
me being a Christian, sometimes I always wonder, like, do we have too much access now?
Absolutely.
Way too much access. Yeah.
The options. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
But ideally, you know, if you asked us back then, we as many options as we want. But now when you have too many options, it's like, man, do I go here or do I go there?
First thing to get on your nerve,
Let's swipe left.
First thing to get on your nerve is
crazy.
What does it mean to work through something now? I mean, I don't have to. You know, if I got so many other options, so many other avenues that I can go to find someone, then I ain't putting up what is fighting, what is holding on, what is, you talk about growing apart. Well, I'm sure our parents did that. Our grandparents grew apart.
But they stayed together.
They stayed together.
Yeah.
And so now it's, man, I'm out the door because I can go get something else.
Right.
Yeah. Sure enough.
So then it goes back to how what's their value on marriage? How do they view it?
That's what I'm saying.
What's gonna keep them like
Facts.
10 toes down, right?
Facts.
Because I know I'm not going nowhere, so what I need something, you know. But that's why we got to do our due diligence and ask certain questions in the beginning.
Look deep before you leap.
Yeah.
Sure enough.
Yeah.
Okay, they say by 2030, 50% of people will be single by 2030. So I always wonder, man, what does that mean for Christian dating? And I think that's why the word of God is so important, because it gives us instruction on how to live, despite the numbers, despite what's presented before us. Because let's keep it real, we do live in this ruthless world we live in. But it's like, I guess that's why we need to be even closer to God.
Of course, it's only gonna get worse. We're living in the end times.
Yeah.
Whether people realize it or not.
Yeah.
It's the word literally in the birth pains, so it's gonna get worse. That's a whole nother topic.
You know my word. You know my word.
Deregulated environment.
Deregulated.
You haven't been saying it lately. I guess because we've been saying it before you were teasing.
Yeah, y'all already know. I think our listeners know. They like, he about to say deregulated.
But no, it's so accurate though. So we love it when you say
Can you be a good Christian and not a good spouse? Is that impossible? Can you be a good Christian man but not a good spouse?
Yeah, because when I don't think we can underestimate the influence that our upbringing has on us. We may have all the good intentions in the world, but if I don't know what it means to be a good husband because maybe I didn't see that. I didn't really. Now people say, well, at some point that becomes an excuse, but it's a fact. It shapes the way you are as a person. So if I grow up and I say, well, man, you know, I really want to be a good husband. Maybe my father wasn't there. Maybe he passed or whatever the case may be. I don't have the example. If my mother was whatever she was, then what does it mean to be a good wife? You know, what does this actually mean? So yeah, I think following God and being a good person, being a good Christian, that's important. But to me, being a husband, being a good father, being a good mother, these things it's more than just being a Christian. It's some more. That's why I say knowledge of self. People now that's another thing with Christians, we don't really emphasize therapy. And working out those inner demons. Because there are some things that we really do have to go talk to somebody about and work out in order for us to be productive husbands.
Sometimes we mask it with our Christianity.
There we go.
We hide behind God. Man,
and it becomes delusion.
I've seen it in the church before. Where I've seen people do certain things in the church. I'm like, wait a minute, you present yourself like this, but then, Okay, but then I didn't realize, like you said, we all got something we healing from, we trying to break from. And I told her my story before. I struggled a lot in relationships, but I lost my parents at an early age.
This is true.
So it was easy for me to detach versus attach. So, getting accustomed to, dating apps and all this other stuff. But then I realized, nah, man, have I worked a lot of this stuff out that I'm going through? So I had to go get there, but I had to go and work it out.
Correct.
And understand myself more so I can come back out here and really date the way I'm supposed to date. But it took me a long time to figure it out. But I was like, I'm a Christian man. I'm a good person. But like you said, those still having those demons.
Yeah, because it's a spiritual walk. It's just more than just a title of saying I'm a Christian and I'm a man of God. It really is a lifestyle and a walk. But spiritually, man, you're dealing with trauma. You're dealing with abandonment issues, detachment issues, codependency issues. And these are the things that if you don't know yourself, that's why I say knowledge of self and self-love is so important. Because the more you know about yourself, the more you know about your triggers and the things that help. Then when you get out in the world, it's a whole lot easier to be honest. But how can you be honest when you don't know yourself?
And you're dealing with generational curses.
Absolutely. Trauma, curses. Yep. This is a fact.
And you can find it. My therapist, she's dope and she's a Christian. So we got the same values.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
And you got to find the right therapist for you too. That's another thing. That's a whole nother battle.
Yeah, it is.
Finding one that's compatible to you.
Yeah. But it's necessary. Yeah. If you feel like, hey man, I keep running into these issues when I'm in a dating world, then the common denominator in all these issues that you're running into is yourself. So it becomes your radar. Is my radar messed up? The way I'm looking and who I'm looking for. And so now I got to work on some things in order to adjust my GPS and adjust my focus. So then I can start looking in the right places instead of the wrong ones. For sure.
I see in the church too, they have like single ministries and stuff like that. Do you think more churches should do more, have more Christian ministries, maybe have classes on how to date or what are some things that you can look for? I feel like they should put that more in churches because when you have single ministries, they may play games or may just do little things. All the women do something together, but I think they need to have a class on, okay, this is how you date. This is how you court, or this is how you date intentionally.
That's a big word, court.
Right.
But with court,
that's a big word. That's a good word.
In this deregulated market, as men, we look at courting a little different. Like the dinner dates, all this other stuff. But there's a way to do it.
It is a way to court. Yes.
Do your research before you spend the money and invest. That's on y'all. If y'all gonna blow $300 on the first date and you don't know her, that's on y'all.
This is true.
Y'all got to do your research and protect yourself.
This is true.
You got to.
They had this one dude blew $1,100 on the first day.
That's what I'm saying.
Crazy work, bro.
That was one of my
How do you blow
$1,100?
$1,100? How do you blow $1,100 on a day,
and
bro?
it was mad because she didn't go home with him.
$1,100 on the first day.
On the first day.
And that's wild uncomfortable for females like me. Like, no, that's too much. Like, that's super.
But that's a good point. What does that say about a female that would even allow that?
I don't know, because I'm not. I'm just like, wait a minute, what?
$1,100. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's too much.
It was a lot.
Yeah, nah. No, but that was a good question. So since you read about Proverbs 31 and we talking about men, and I'm going to read 1 Peter 3:7. It says, in the same way you husbands live with your wives in an understanding way with great gentleness and intact, with an intelligent regard for the marriage relationship as with someone physically weaker, since she is a woman. Show her honor and respect as a fellow heir of the grace of life, so that your prayers will not be hindered or ineffective. So that's how important that it is for men. Again, we're talking about the leading and the covering. And yes, we all struggle with our flesh, but First Peter is telling men, like, your prayers, so that your prayers won't be hindered to God. So he even calls you guys to a higher standard than us, because we're supposed to submit to you guys. So it is important for, yes, men to consider, to your point, do the work and things of that nature. But goes back to what I was saying about working on the character to sustain a marriage. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
So yeah, I wanted to put that out there because y'all always screaming Proverbs 31, but we got something right back for y'all. Okay,
that is the one they go to.
Peter 3:7.
That is the one they go to.
Yeah.
Facts.
I like that, though. That's what's up.
This was such a great, healthy conversation. I want to say that. with y'all because it doesn't happen enough or it doesn't go viral enough. People have these conversations, to your point, because there's a lot of people that are struggling with this and they need to hear more healthy dialogue in people's experiences and, you know, out of love. We're sharing knowledge out of love, not out of judgment, not out of condemnation. So this is important that we're doing this discussion. I just wanted to say that.
Been very healthy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think too, a lot of people have a deeper understanding about Christianity. About, you know, you can be a Christian and still date successfully out here and still find the person you want.
Yeah.
You know, I know I used to look at it a little different. So I definitely came a long way. But you know, that's why I wanted my man Forte on the show. You know, a man of God as well. I said, man, he'll be perfect for the show to really just kind of like speak on it. You know, since you've been a big part of my life. You know, and we've done a lot of work together. So now I got a question I want to ask you though.
Yes, sir.
This is kind of off the grid, but give me your 3 top. First of all, I'm gonna say give me your top 3 Christian movies of all time, and then give me your top 3 movies of all time, and then I'm gonna go with you, and I'm gonna go with you. Give me your top 3 Christian movies of all time, and then give me your top 3 movies of all time.
Top 3 Christian movies of all time. The Shack.
Okay, that's a good one.
The Shack is an incredible movie. The War Room was very good.
Have you guys ever seen The War Room?
That was going to be one of my top 3.
Okay.
Yes.
That's one of your top movies.
Top 3.
Top 3.
He said
Christian movies.
Christian movies.
Yeah, War Room. They don't make many of them.
Yeah, they don't.
And I'll probably say A Mother's Day.
I was in that, by the way. Check it out.
He was in that.
Yeah,
that's my film. And top 3 movies. Oh man, that's
tough.
hard,
I know it's
Yeah.
tough.
That's hard.
That's too
Give me
hard.
3. You gotta give me
Oh my
that.
gosh, that is so hard.
Is that hard? I mean, I know it's so many great movies out
yeah.
here. Man,
Forrest Gump.
that's one of my favorites. That's my
Classic.
top. I love that.
Casino and
Love the Casino.
Interstellar. No, I take Interstellar. Malcolm X.
I love Michael.
Incredible.
Bangers.
Incredible movie.
He was definitely a Oscar snub on that one.
He was.
Yeah.
He was. But yeah, that's me.
You know, my favorite part, before we go to Vic, my favorite part of that movie is when he first got out of prison and he went to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and he broke down.
in tears.
And it was almost like he was transferring his old ways into his new way. It was a very powerful moment because he broke down because he was scared. He was scared to touch it. He was scared to touch the man.
Yeah.
He said, "It's okay. It's okay."
Yeah.
And you could tell that everything was, man,
Just washing away. Denzel did an incredible job in that movie. That is incredible. Spike Lee, one of my favorite directors. Incredible film.
What about you, V? Top 3.
Well, definitely The War Room. I like
movie.
that. Left Behind.
That's a classic.
About the rapture.
That's
I got saved behind that movie at Vacation Bible School in when I was 15.
Yeah.
So, and they've done a million remakes.
They
but
have.
yes.
You talking about the original though?
Yeah, the original.
Oh,
that I was like, what?
They had everybody scared.
Yeah. And I don't know. I can't think of the name of it. It's by Devon Franklin, and it was with the little kid, and I can't remember the name of it, but that was a good one. And then top regular secular movie.
Top 3 movies of all time.
Coming to America. Definitely know it.
Princess Umunda.
Word for word. The original Bad Boys.
The first one.
The first one, original in 95. And then Waiting to Exhale.
Oh, that's a cool.
He just made all kind of classics.
Bang.
That's what I say. That's hard. The top 3 is hard.
I'm gonna go last. I'm gonna go with you. Top 3 Christian, then your top 3 movies.
I don't have it. I love, like, I just remember reading this story. Yeah.
It's hard.
10 Commandments. That
that's
was
a good
like,
That's classic.
just because I remember reading the story and they had like kids Bible study while the grown folks was in the main.
Yep.
I remember reading that and then actually seeing it like visually.
The
With
old
Moses,
one.
The Moses, the original one.
Charleston
Heston. Yeah,
that's
that
actually
one.
good. Yeah,
That one is.
they used to play that all the time around Easter, didn't they?
Yeah,
growing
it's
up?
probably gonna be
They
airing in
did.
a couple days. Yeah, that one. Passion of Christ.
That was good.
I was gonna say that.
I only seen it once though. I could.
And then like my regular favorite movies. Definitely, you took one of mine. Coming to America.
Okay.
That's like
Classic.
classic. Like
Yep.
the Munda. Yeah. Life. I like Life. That's
Life.
It's just.
that's
What you know
it's
about
just-
that?
just the comedic timing of those two, man.
It was
just
hilarious.
Just
You gonna eat your cornbread?
movie. It's just a hilarious movie. And then there's just some of the most like household black comedic actors all in one film,
All
like
in
that.
one, yeah. It was
And everybody, you saw everybody's different personalities.
Yeah,
it was just
hilarious.
crazy.
You know what's crazy? We don't see as many great comedies as they used to back in the day. You know, it's not too many. You know, you see other genres that's pretty good, but when you look at like when the last time you guys seen a really good comedy?
I think the standards for comedy have changed so much
maybe
because of
that's it,
social media.
Yeah.
All the skits and all we.
Because you remember the Harlem Nights. We remember the Harlem Nights. I mean, come on, everything was funny.
Yeah.
It's like now it's like.
I mean, you see a lot of social media personality, a lot of social media comics, and they say it's different than being a stage comic. When you transition to be a social media comic and actually being on that stage, a lot of them crash and burn. You know, so
and being able to carry a film
exactly
and just be, you know, like because a lot of stuff they do on film is improv, like in life, and a lot of stuff was just off the cuff.
Yes.
And Eddie Murphy and Arsenio and all these people, they just naturally funny.
Yeah.
So
And,
I think the standards for comedy have changed so much. That's why we don't really see great comedies anymore.
Hey, my top 3. I'm gonna say Not Easily Broken.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, with Morris Chestnut, Noah. With Russell Crowe, Noah, that hit me. And I'm gonna say my third one, as far as a Christian film, I would say, I'm gonna say Passion of the Christ.
Yeah,
Passion of the Christ. Yeah. Now my top 3 movies of all time, man, that's Shawshank Redemption. I love Shawshank Redemption. Morgan Freeman, great. Forrest Gump. I would say Michael X, but you already said that one, so I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna say, man, there's so many good movies.
Training Day.
No,
that's classic too, though.
That's a really good one. I'm gonna say, what's that movie called? Have you guys ever seen?
Who's in it?
I'm gonna say Scarface. I'm gonna just give it to Scarface because it's so many. As I was gonna say, Dead Presidents with Lorenz Tate. That was a good one too.
Yeah. You asked the question. That's why we was looking at you.
It's so many movies. I'm such a movie buff, man. I can watch movies all day, man.
Yeah.
Almost do top 20.
You could have went in the bag, like when you said Waiting to Exhale, you could have went into that bag. And
that 90s bag was crazy.
All those movies.
Oh, that 90s bag was incredible. Yeah. That's a fact.
But why is it? Have you noticed with films, before we segue to the next one, it seemed like people took their time more with movies back in the day. Like it was more now like Tyler Perry, you can do a movie in 11 days and you're done.
The streaming services, man.
Yeah.
The streaming services have killed it because it's and these machines need more content. So these people are just popping them out.
So it's not as deep and as detailed as
you know, filmmaker would take years before he did another film. And now it's just like back to back. If I don't, I'm gonna get lost in the shuffle. So I gotta just keep doing movies.
And then a lot of originality has gone too. A lot of stuff that's being remade over.
And that's why people get mad. Like they're trying to do, it was on Facebook, like they were trying to do New Jack City, and it's like, why?
I forgot about that one.
You know what? New Jack City. So it's
Boys in the Hood.
Yeah,
John Singleton.
Yeah, Boys in the Hood. All of that, Sugar Hill,
Friday.
like all the Fridays. So it's like, they're trying. That's why people get upset when they try to do the remake.
Now I saw one show the other day that they just put on Hulu. Y'all probably too young for this. New York Undercover. Dick Wolf.
What?
Y'all probably don't even know about that. Y'all don't even know about that.
Keon, hold on. You're the youngest one in the room.
Thank you. You are the youngest. Like,
V, I got this.
Thank you.
I know because New York Undercover used to come on right after Living Single.
That's right.
Yeah.
On Fox.
That's
You remember that, Fred? You know who Dick Wolf? You know who Dick Wolf is?
Of course, Law and Order is my show. Absolutely. Come on, talk to me.
Come on, bro. Like, bro, what we talking about here?
Yes.
So I just tried to. I really just.
I can't stand when he do that with music, movies, all that. Like we older than him. And a little bit fresher than you too. So we don't know.
Talk to me.
That's what we doing. That's what I still love you though. I still love you though. Man, that's good, man. Let's go ahead and segue to hot topic, stinking mess of the day. Now, Fred, let me explain this to you. So, hot topic, hot mess of the day. Any trending topic that's going on in social media or in the world, we talk about it. We give our opinion. All right. So, go ahead, segue over to you, Hafiz.
I know we're talking about Christian dating. There's something trending with the standards and how everybody, wants a particular type of man or woman. poly relationships are slowly trending. And so R&B crooner Neo has been called out. He's gotten some backlash because he, he's currently in a polygamous relationship. So he has now introduced his other girlfriend or partner to his children. Like he's basically letting it be known. He's being honest up front that, letting his kids know that I have more than one girlfriend, one partner. Okay. Now here's the flip side of it. His ex-wife or baby mother, she's displeased with this.
Crystal?
I think it is. Yes. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I would just kind of want to hear y'all takes on it. Is this too much? Is he okay with being honest? My thoughts on that was like,
and he got 4 girlfriends to reiterate.
4 girlfriends. Okay. 4 girlfriends. And he's being honest, letting his children know, but his ex-wife, baby mama, she's I
understand both sides. I understand a man being honest, and he don't want to keep any secrets. He just want to put it out there, for his family and everything. Say, look, this is the man I am. This is what I'm standing by. At least I'm not hiding it. At least all love and respect. But I also understand where the baby mama's coming from. What kind of message are you sending to the children? They seeing this different woman. What kind of message are you putting in their head? So I can kind of see both sides. Do I agree with it? No, but do I respect the fact that he was honest enough to just say, hey, I'm living my truth. This is what I am. Here we go. I respect it.
I'm like, how the hell does he have time?
Why are you pause like that?
Because how does he have time? You got 4 women, different personalities. He's giving them like the bare minimum or like 20. There's no way they're getting all of you. You're spread thin. 4 women? I ain't even talking.
They're interested in his lifestyle, Like I said, you might see
and
more.
And he ain't no looker either. So, and he's short. So obviously it's because of the money, like you said.
He's bad.
And
he has some status.
the lifestyle, because he probably sing to them at night.
Probably
because
does.
something's not adding up, and it's how they value themselves. But Hafiz, is funny because you said it's so hard out here these days that some people are just like they just trying to make it.
They're just trying to make it.
They're trying to survive. So some of them are in two out of 4 is survival mode.
They probably are in survival mode. It's like this is the type of man I desire. If I have to share this man
with 3 other women,
that's just probably what I got to do right now.
Yeah. I agree with you. I do respect him because the kids are gonna see it on social media anyway, or probably hear about it from friends or whatever. Yep. So you would want that to come from them. But as a mother, especially how I know she's probably worried what is he putting in the head for his sons, because you guys do emulate a lot of what y'all see with your dad.
Absolutely.
Man.
So that is big. So she's probably like, wait a minute, even though you decide to do that, like, come on. So, I can see the motherly side of that.
Yeah, I agree. I saw a little piece on when he was talking about this, and I seen a little piece. But the thing he was saying was, "Hey, man, I'm up front.
Yeah,
I'm honest.
Yeah.
So then that ball is in that young lady's court to be able to say whether I want to put up with this or not. Right now, as far as the kids though, because I do think that has to be. You have to take that in deep consideration. You know what I'm saying? Because these kids are going to grow up thinking that this is a healthy, functional, I hate to use the word normal, but a normal, traditional relationship.
Right.
And I think that could be problematic.
Very.
But then again, outside looking in, I don't know how Neo handled his business.
Right.
He could be 10 toes handling his business like a man as a father. But from the outside, I just wouldn't want to send that message to my boys.
Right.
Personally. Yeah.
I guess
because you have boys.
3.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
3
you
boys.
got 3 wonderful boys, and you recognize
absolutely.
they watch you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm cognizant of how I move now when I'm with them. I
was gonna ask you about that. You being a father, are you real conscious on what kind of woman, whatever woman you're dating, who you bring around your sons?
Nobody comes around my sons, but
Really?
No. But if that was going to be. Because, listen, once again, we talk about sending the wrong message. You understand? Because, I mean, the only thing worse than being alone is wishing you were. And I want my kids to really understand when you make this decision to be with somebody, introduce them to your children.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
that's big for me. Introduce to my kids. So yeah, I don't play that unless I know, hey man, this is gonna be something for real. Kids is off limits. Get to know me first, and then we'll introduce my children. But that's why I say Neo. That's tough.
But that's refreshing because sometimes dudes don't feel like that.
No.
They say like, oh, you gotta wait to meet my,
Oh yeah,
children.
man.
So that's refreshing to hear a man say that.
Yeah, man. I love my babies.
Let me ask: is there, like, in that dynamic, would it be different if the kids were a certain age? Like if they were younger, like if they were teenagers? Because I was thinking about, because I'm not sure how old Neo's children are, but if they're like underage, then yeah, that could be probably like problematic. But if they're like teenagers, kind of understand, they have their own identity, then him being upfront and honest.
The two by Crystal, they're still young.
They're young?
Yeah.
Like under 10?
Or around that age or
okay.
younger. Yeah, because if you think about it, yeah. Then he does have the older two from Monette or whatever her name is. I can't remember, the lady in Atlanta. But they're a little older. But at the same time, still as boys, it doesn't matter if you're a teenager. Like you still, like my brother, even a teenager emulate my dad. Like you still, because you see your father in a different regard, right? So you
almost godlike.
Right. And just like, and so just like women, we move how our moms move, regardless if we're a teenager or young, how we see our moms interact with men. We usually do mimic that, right? We don't know. To your point, we think it's healthy. Oh, my mom was this, my mom was that, or whatever the case may be. And we don't realize it until we're like older. But yeah, I don't. You're right. They're more impressionable when they're younger, but still, at teenagers, they're still going to be problematic. I like that word you said, problematic for them. I felt like he probably just wanted to let me give you my perspective of why I'm doing this, because they might see it. So let me tell you why Daddy is engaging on that. Again, how do you have enough energy? Can y'all deal with four women?
A man doesn't kiss. I'm just playing.
I mean, besides the sex, but four women, the emotions and all of that, that's heavy.
Somebody gonna get left out.
That's a lot.
That's a fact.
Somebody gonna get left out.
Yeah,
Somebody gonna get left
that's
out.
a lot.
It's a lot.
And I'm not sharing no man. I'm sorry. I'm not sharing.
What's your honesty?
I'm not sharing.
Facts.
No, because he's being real. Because three of them gonna get left. Like how you stretching yourself, and I'm not.
You
sharing.
said two of them on survival mode.
That's what they are. Two of them on survival mode.
But I think the sad part is, I think you mentioned something. You got women out here that's willing to share a man.
Yep.
If he's a high caliber enough man, they willing to share versus just get a regular guy that they.
Well,
can
y'all talked about the numbers. Y'all said
in today's dating climate where the standards are here, and if only a small percentage of men are deemed desirable because of these standards, you might see more of poly relationships trending.
I agree with that. I think the smaller the pool gets, you talk about men not being available.
Yeah.
At some point, the conversation's gonna come up. We're gonna have to share this, brother.
Yeah, but
That's crazy.
But listen,
work.
I'm not sharing. I'm not sharing. And I just need one. And I'm gonna remain steadfast in my faith. God's gonna bless me with just the one.
There you go.
Because I ain't sharing. That's all I need is one. That's why I said I'm open outside my race. Right, you gotta have options.
But you desire your black king. Come on, you desire your black.
It's a preference, but I'm not gonna. If whoever God has for me, it might not be that. So I'm gonna follow who He has for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, but again, I ain't sharing.
Regardless.
Okay.
Because that goes to your value. You know what I'm saying? Let's be real. Like,
no,
the more
I get you.
Yeah.
Some people look at them bills, them value go down.
Listen, I'm good financially, so I ain't got to do that. But even if I wasn't, I always had two jobs. I always had another hustle, like, because I've always, again, y'all know, because I'm a daddy's girl. So I was just raised to see myself in a certain regard, right? When you get in love and you deal with the wrong dudes, you always gonna make wrong choices. But as far as how I see myself, I always saw myself like my dad raised me how to see that. But now the beauty is, now I see myself how God views me as His daughter. Mm-hmm. So that's when the standards, like you said, lower and not higher, but it's my dating pool is smaller. Mm-hmm. So that's why I know I can't be caught up on somebody's height, or they got to make a lot of money. I can't be caught up on those things because my pool was already smaller. if that makes sense.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was a good hot topic because I was waiting. I'm like,
I was
Good
trying
luck.
to make it work.
And it was right on Paul, right on
Man,
Paul.
great stuff, man. And
this
while
is
you guys
good.
rocking with us, make sure you share this video, like this video, subscribe to this video, comment on this video. It has been an amazing show today, guys. Thank you again. How you feeling over there, Chocolate Boy Wonder?
Feel good.
You good?
Feel good. How you feeling, Fred?
Man,
That's the question.
right
man.
at home, I'm like, man, it's time over already, but it's all right. Yeah, I've had a good time. I appreciate y'all bringing me.
Fred, man, we really enjoyed you, brother. Like I said, we go way back, man. I'd be crazy if I didn't put you on the show. I had to put my brother on the show, man. It was just a matter of time, man. I just appreciate you for blessing us with your presence. You know you family now, and hopefully this won't be the last show.
Nah, man. Anytime you send an invite, I'm on the way.
So while we on you right now, where can people find you at, man? Give them your Instagram. You know what? If they say, you know what, I want to know more about this brother. I want to know what he's doing. And then let us know what you got coming up, because I know you got a film and stuff coming up. So let people know a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, man. So you can find me on Instagram at Freddie the Director. I'm the CEO of Third Day Films. So you can find us at www.thirddayfilms.com. And we also on social media, Third Day Films.
Yep.
So check us out. We have a new film coming out. Key is in it. My man behind the camera, Randy, DP'd the film as well. So it's an incredible film called Born Again Baddie. And
Interesting title.
Well,
We'll definitely be in the building.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
So the premiere will shoot the date soon to you guys, so you guys can share it. But outside of that, look out for that. I'm very excited about the film. And we also have a film called One More Day that's out on Amazon and on Tubi and on Peacock. So check it out.
One more day.
One more day.
Yep.
One more day.
Yeah. So check it out. I think is that the Mother's Day? Is that the same?
Yeah. So
we
we changed the name. That was the working title of Mother's Day, but the name of the film.
And I'm in that one as well. So you guys check
She's
it
in
out,
that
man.
one as well.
Yeah, man. So V, how you feeling?
Great.
Did
I'm
your thing?
passionate about these kind of conversations. So.
You had some good stuff today,
Yeah.
for sure.
But thank you guys again for rocking with us. Thank you guys for rocking with the show, Chocolate Conversations Podcast. You know we're always going to give you more chocolate here on the station. So, Keon Taylor, Chocolate Conversations. Until next time.